My name's Jason. I'm from a company called BoldCommerce, and we're up in Canada, so it's amazing being down here. We came from minus 23 on Sunday, so this is balmy for us. We do a lot in the e-commerce space and a lot around subscriptions, which is what we're going to be talking about today. I've got 4 amazing local subscription companies. They're based here in Austin. We're going to jump into some questions. I wanted to set the stage a little bit first before we dive in, because I don't know if some of you might be running a subscription business. I've talked to some of you already that are. Some of you might be thinking about getting into subscriptions, or some of you have no idea if you run an online store, if it even makes sense. So, is this pair perfect? So I'm going to throw a few quick stats up here, and then we'll dive right in. One of the first one is 178%. That's, I should have said, think what that number means in your head first. That's the average higher lifetime value that a subscription is compared to a one-time order in an online store. Just to let you guys know, so we have a subscription product, and so we get a lot of this data from our users. The next one I wanted to throw up was 41%. Anyone think what that is? That is the percentage of all retail online that is done from repeat customers. It's a massive, massive number. And what's interesting is 8%, which is the next number I wanted to put up, is the percentage of customers that are repeat customers. So what's really interesting about that is 8% of customers repeat, but they make up 41% of all online commerce. So it's a pretty important thing to focus on, whether it's subscriptions or anything to focus on your repeat customers. The next one is 125 days. You guys can probably guess what that is. That's the average length of subscriptions, and we're just pulling data from, we have just over 10,000 merchants, and we're pulling data from that. So you can kind of do the math and think how valuable a customer is if that's the average time they stay on. And then 2 more, 5x to 25x. This is the average, or sorry, how much more expensive it is to market to new customers versus existing customers. So this was actually from a study done recently. We didn't pull this data from our customers, but this is pretty common knowledge that marketing to your existing customers is easier. So again, another kind of plus of subscriptions. And then lastly, 8x. This number is roughly how much more valuable your company is if the revenue you're doing is MRR, monthly recurring revenue, versus one-time revenue. So, recently Dollar Shave Club sold for $1 billion to Unilever. At the time they sold, they were doing $100 million in revenue, and they sold for $1 billion. So they actually got 10x. But that's quite average, 8 to 10x valuation for recurring revenue versus one-time. So these guys are building recurring revenue businesses, and so the value on their companies is going to be that much higher versus the value on the one-time products. So just a super quick introduction before we jump into it. My name's Jason, which I said. There's also Amy here, there's Amy. Amy's from Bold as well too, so if you guys are hanging around later and you have any questions, you feel free to talk to either of us. Just wanted you to see what she looks like. And then there we go. At Bold, we do a lot of things, subscriptions, B2B, customization, but the big thing we're talking about today is, of course, subscriptions. And the reason why we focus a lot on it is the subscription industry since 2011, subscription commerce has grown 100% year over year. E-commerce hasn't grown that much year over year, but subscription commerce has. So it's a segment that's growing really fast. It's really valuable. It's good for your company valuation. It's good for so many reasons, which is why we focus a lot on it. And then obviously, like some of the biggest brands in the world, we look at Procter & Gamble, Gillette, Walmart, they're all trying to get into this space. We're actually working with some of these brands to help them build out subscription solutions for certain aspects of their company. So like everyone's trying to find something that their customers can subscribe to in some way. Just some quick data that you might find interesting. This is looking at our customers. So the average subscriber, if you wanted to know, is between the age of 24 to 44. They live in large cities. The vast majority, for some reason, rural people don't subscribe to products as much. Their average income is 50 to 100K, and 60% of them are women. Women like subscribing more, apparently. But what's interesting is men subscribe to more subscription boxes. So just an interesting data point. And lastly, sorry, there's one more. We see with our customers really three main types of subscriptions. We classify them as replenishment, curation, and access. And so just to kind of frame the conversation a little bit, replenishment, pretty obvious, that's you get your shampoo every month. Curation, that's your subscription box style. People like to be surprised, and that's like your Birch boxes, your beauty boxes. What people are really paying for is to be surprised and delighted every month. And curation, coincidentally, is the space I find companies that don't sell a product that they think could be subscribed to. So for example, some of our biggest brands sell sunglasses of the month. They sell iPhone cases. They're $30 a month, and they get a new iPhone case every month. Like, it blows my mind because I wouldn't subscribe to an iPhone case every month, but they sell tons of them, and for $30 a month, you get a new trendy, maybe it's an artist and it's designed a certain way, but really it's curation is what they're paying for. And then the last one is access. And you can kind of see the percentages. Curation is by far the biggest. And the really successful ones actually blend all three together. So replenishment, curation, and access. You can have a subscription, you're getting a product every month, but then you're also gaining access to certain content on your website, or membership clubs, or VIP pricing, or different loyalty tiers. There's different ways you can add access. And this is the last slide here. These are the 6 kind of types that fall into these 3. So mystery boxes, carts are pretty straightforward. You add 6 different types of products, like your shampoo, your toilet paper, all to the cart and check out. Single product, memberships. Build-A-Box is a really trending one right now, and that's all the meal subscriptions. So you build a box, or you build your meals, you get it every week, month, and then you can edit it, or change your meals you're getting. And then the last one is convertible, and that's just your classic, I'm getting a coffee maker and coffee, and then every month just the coffee, or the scent diffuser and oil, and then every month just the oil. And it can also go the other way, where you get the small version, like the sample of coffee, and then the full, if they don't cancel, the full coffee every month. So those are the 6 types, and the reasons I wanted to kind of frame this is, if, as you're listening to this, you do something in the e-commerce space, but you don't sell subscriptions, you think, oh, my product no one would buy twice. I'm blown away by the companies that actually are able to offer a subscription on a product like sunglasses that I would never think would be a subscription, but we have brands selling sunglasses and are just killing it. People are paying $40 a month for new sunglasses every month. So now I want to jump into the panel with these guys up here. Here are my questions. So I'll quickly introduce the folks up here. On the right is Frank with Feel Great 365. And then, this is perfect. It's right in the order I have it written. We got Mark with Made Nutrients. This is the proper, just rebranding right now. We have Sean. Oh, sorry, not perfectly in order. Sean's with Milk and Honey. They have a store also just down the road. You guys might have heard of them. And Tyler, who runs Dollar Driver Club. So I won't go into the details. I'll actually let you guys maybe really quickly just describe what you do and why subscriptions are important in your business, maybe. And we'll just kind of start this way and go across.
Sure. So I have what I call a human wellness company, because you treat humans, and I think that's part of what's missing in today's world, is a lot of corporations are treating the dollar and not treating the human. We make real food powders and real food supplements for adults and kids, and we focus a lot on children because they're just not getting the nutrition they need these days. And we just had a discussion before this. It's tough to fight the fast food and sugar industry, and so we're trying to do that. And that was all spawned out of me having a child, obviously.
And why subscriptions?
Subscriptions, we do it for 2 reasons, right? Like, the first reason we look at is the person, the customer, right? Like, I used to think that people didn't want to be on subscriptions and it was a badgering process, but I was completely wrong, and I've learned so many things. You don't know what you don't know, right? And so we look at it as people want convenience. And if you look at some of the things you put up on their board, people in big cities don't want to spend the time to go to the grocery store, and people don't want to spend the time going to GNC or going into Whole Foods and standing in front of a supplement aisle where they're like, oh my God, what am I going to buy here? They want convenience. But the convenience they want is they don't want the old, there's kind of an old world subscription where, it was hard to get off of them, and, you had to call a number. That's why I say, we have a human wellness company, because we treat the human. Like if somebody calls and says, we want to skip a subscription, we just skip it. If they send an email and say, we want to skip it, we just skip it. If they want it, whatever the customer's asking for, we do. If they say, hey, look, our package got damaged in the mail, we don't say, hey, look, contact the United States Postal Service and make a claim. We just say, we're going to send you a new one. Just like that. And so that's the important part for the human. So we always look at the customer first. From the company perspective, we look at subscriptions because of reoccurring revenue, right? For all the very analytics that you put up there. If we can get somebody on a subscription and they're using the product, one, they're more likely to get healthy because they're going to be on it longer because they're actually getting the product, and two, they're going to get used to a routine of taking the product, right, and stay on it, which creates better lifetime value for us.
Cool. And Mark?
There's a lot of overlap between the things that we're doing. I also have a nutrition company, and everything that we're doing, it's not focused on children or sugar. It's focused on the men's market, and we have a women's line coming out later this year, hence the rebrand. But everything's based on empirical research or proven results, because it is a relatively low-trust industry for some of the reasons you pointed out, where you're going into stores like GNC and you may be talking to someone who doesn't have a background in nutrition and they're trying to just sell you the latest and greatest get huge product or whatever it is. So our sort of onus in getting into the industry is very, very similar. To build on the importance of subscriptions and recurring revenue, and one thing I really like about the Bold app, and we sell through a couple of different sales channels. We offer things on one-time orders. We offer subscriptions. It's an ongoing investment. You can go in month by month and just see how much that recurring revenue is growing, because it builds on itself. So as opposed to having to go out every month and spend 8 to 25 times as much to get that one-time customer, you have that person, you're trying to retain them, and you do have a retention rate, and that varies, I'm sure. But even if you had a low retention rate of 50% month over month, you can see that grow just like any other investment. So it's great to go in over time and be like, okay, well, last month we had this much in subscription revenue. It's grown 20% just by itself. And subscription models, because they are so appealing in e-commerce right now, and they are a way to get people through the door. I imagine all of us, if you have a product model out of those 6 different types you were talking about, if you're offering some sort of discount by offering a subscription over a one-time sale, you're lowering the barrier to purchase that one time. So you're much more likely to get that customer in the door, and then it's just a matter of keeping them. So it's a very, very important part of our business.
Cool. And then Tyler's got a really interesting model that I would say was a blend between access and product a little bit too.
Yeah, for sure. So I started the first ever driver subscription service. One of the big problems in the golf industry right now is really the expense of everything. A new driver today costs $550. So there's a big access barrier to a lot of people out there. And so through a subscription model, I was able to give access to a lot more people by making it a monthly charge. The caveat to that is they don't own the club. They subscribe on a monthly basis. Like you said, you got a new driver every single year. And there's actually 750,000 golfers that purchase more than one new driver at retail every year. So that customer is only going to spend a max of $360 with us. They're going to get access to more than one driver in a calendar year. It's going to save them a ton of money. But the main thing is growing the golf industry right now. We're seeing a huge growth in people that would never walk into a golf store and buy a new driver. They were going on eBay and buying 3-generation-old clubs at, $350. With us, they're coming and getting the brand new clubs that the pros are playing and winning on every week on tour at a price that they can afford. So the manufacturers are loving what we're doing right now, us being the only one, because they're seeing a huge growth in the marketplace for people that could never afford something that they're trying to sell. So that's the subscription side of the things has really made the affordability side huge for us.
I just thought it was a really neat model. That's cool.
Thank you.
And then we have Sean, our last one.
Hi, I'm Sean from Milk and Honey. We started as a spa and salon brand, so we have some brick and mortar stores. We started a product brand about 4 years ago that we sell in our own stores in third-party retailers like Whole Foods and Neiman Marcus, and direct to consumer. I view subscription products as, I think in the e-commerce business, for at least a large swath of products, it's sort of table stakes. So part of the reason that we originally got onto Amazon in late 2016 was because they had subscribe and save. Economics of the whole deal aside, that was something that was very easy to turn on. And for many of our products, we sell natural organic deodorants, body creams, things that people buy on a regular basis. Of course you want to offer a subscription, and part of it is about the relationship with the customer, because I think if you're trying to create a premium brand, you don't want to heavily discount your product. You don't want to be like Old Navy, where you know that you only are willing to spend 50% off there because they're always on sale. You want to offer something that people perceive value, and really you want to offer something that has value. So offering a subscription is kind of a way of joining hands with a customer and saying, we're on this journey together. We're going to provide you with a great incentive, whether it's free shipping or a discount or some combination. You're going to commit to us in the longer term, and you're going to win, we're going to win, and I think that that's a great customer relationship.
I think one of the things it lets you do is invest more in the customer, because they're going to be a customer for X amount of months, their lifetime value is more, so you can actually, you're not as worried about how long you're on the phone or how much you spent to acquire that customer, because they're a more valuable customer. So one of the things that I had on the slide was just about subscription growth and how it's grown 100% year over year since 2011. So because of that, it's becoming a not crowded space, but a trending space. And I'm sure in every category you guys are in, you have competitors and you have other people selling subscriptions in the same product lines. So I'd be curious to know what's something you do to stand out versus competition, or when there's millions of subscription offerings now, just a way to be unique and to really stand out. Maybe Mark, we'll start with you, and then
and I'm sure you run into this as well. The nutrition industry is incredibly competitive. So going into that market, you usually have to find different ways to niche yourself or differentiate yourself. And we've done that in a variety of ways. But one way that we've tried to do it is be a unique voice in the industry and be much more straightforward and honest, as opposed to offering grandiose claims. We are brand and image driven, but with that we try to be much more reliable and real. We also try to maintain a lot of personal dialogue with our customers, and appear like you pointed out that you're creating a relationship with a subscriber. So we have customer care, which we try to get back to people within 4 hours of when they contact us. I readily give out my own email address to all of our subscribers so that they can reach out to me personally. And I dedicate time each week to responding to inquiries from our customers to create that personal dialogue in an industry that I think a lot of times is impersonal. And I think that's helped us quite a bit.
Yeah, I was going to say, just from my personal experience with subscriptions, I remember when Dollar Shave Club launched, and I was like, oh, that's cool. I mean, cool video, but a better concept. And I subscribed to it, and I thought the product was highly mediocre. A couple of months later, a product called Harry's came along, and offering essentially the same product with very similar economics, and just their entire customer experience was superior to Dollar Shave Club. Their razors worked better. I had an issue with one order. Their customer service bent over backwards. And 4 years later, I'm still subscribing to that, and it's kind of sad to look at it, but I'll probably be subscribing to it 20 years from now. Till I die, I'll be subscribing to that product. So I think if you can deliver value, if you're offering a service that, if someone is golfing all of their life, right? They're going to golf until they can't walk anymore, probably. If you're offering value, they're going to be a customer for life, which is amazing. But you have to deliver that value every time you ship something to the customer.
Yeah, for sure. And on that point, I mean, with a recurring model, customer retention is huge. In order to keep a customer going, you have to provide them with a service that they're not getting anywhere else. One of the things that we really focus on is customer service. There's a lot of questions when it comes to golf as to what shaft you should be playing, what loft you should be playing, all these different things. And we employ a team of experts that can really aid in that. The one thing that we do ship out with every order that I really feel like is this kind of a special touch, kind of what you asked, is we do a hand-stamped ball marker for every customer that has their initials on it. So when a customer gets an order, they're already getting what they perceive as kind of a value service. When they open that box, they open a card, it's hand-signed by me with a ball marker that's metal and stamped with their initials, and we've had tremendous feedback on just this little ball marker that costs 25 cents for me to purchase and stamp. It's been huge. So
You're jumping ahead. That was one of my questions on churn. Why don't we jump into that, because it's a thread I'm seeing here. So churn is one of probably your key metrics in subscriptions, and at Bold we sell apps, so we face churn too. If you guys uninstall our app, that's churn. And the way that we look at it is I feel in the end there's only one reason people churn. It's when the perceived value is not greater than the cost. And so you have a Netflix subscription and you're going to stop using it if you haven't watched Netflix for a month because you no longer perceive value in that. So as long as you can, and you answered that ahead of time, but that's awesome. As long as so I always tell subscription companies, how can you add more value so the customer perceives value? That's the best way, because we see all kinds of tricks. People will, when they click to cancel a subscription, there's a thing that says, oh, did you want a 20% off coupon code? Would you like a month free? Which is all awesome. I always recommend doing all of that. But to have a truly healthy subscription business, it's adding extra value. So is there anything any of you guys do that adds that value above just the product? And you answered it already, but maybe, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it goes back to, there seems to be a common theme here, right? And I would curate it into you got to create raving fans in your business, right? And the way you create raving fans, and I always go back to the treating the humans, right? We've all been in a situation with subscriptions or in customer service where somebody just doesn't treat you right, and you just kind of shake your head and go, I just can't even believe that just happened to me, right? So, I do similar things. With my customer service is I answer a lot of my customer service emails, so I know what's going on and what the customers are asking for, right? And then in our copy, when we're sending out a product, we reach out to them 5 days after we sent the product to say, hey, did you get the product? Was it okay in shipping? Was it what you expected? Have you tried it? And we have lots of touch points that aren't touch points like, hey, can you do a review for us, or hey, we're asking you for something. We're going back to them and say, hey, can we give you something? And we create dialogue, right? And once you create dialogue with your customers, then you're actually creating a relationship, right? And once that relationship's created, then when people are thinking about churning off your service, they second guess it, right? They say, okay, maybe I don't need any more broccoli powder this month, but what I can do is I can pause that, or Frank is making it very easy for me to be a customer. I just need to pause this for the month and get on with my life.
We're doing something really interesting at Bold right now because we sell subscription software, and we had an assumption that when a customer contacts our support team, there's 3 ways they can talk. They can email, they can chat, or they can phone. And so our assumption was, does it make a difference what type of communication they have? And our gut was that when someone talks to someone on the phone, it builds more what we call emotional equity. And so then when something goes wrong, are they less likely to churn, like just, cancel the subscription, uninstall the app, whatever canceling it is, if they've had a phone call, if they've submitted a ticket, if they've had a chat, or if they've had no engagement at all. And the customers that spoke to someone on the phone had about 37% higher chance of not canceling and reaching out because they would give us the benefit of the doubt if something went wrong if they had that conversation. But if there was no engagement and something went wrong, they'll just cancel it. So now we try to say or look at ways we can engage, even if nothing's wrong, just reach out. And so that's insightful that you're doing that, I thought. Yeah. Any other churn hacks? Ways to prevent?
It's not a churn hack, but going along with what you mentioned in that engagement and that sort of personal aspect of it, our customer care team will actually look at the inbound inquiries that are coming in via email or via voicemail, and if someone has communicated with someone in the past, they try to answer that. So if it's Jake who has talked to someone before, we try to get Jake to talk to that person again so that they have that ongoing relationship.
Cool.
The other thing we're doing right now, and we just started split testing this, is when someone calls to cancel the subscription, we just tell them, well, we're just going to give you this one for free and see what happens.
Yeah.
We have no data yet, but it may go bad.
Yeah.
But we're constantly, I guess the point is, we're constantly split testing, whether it's copy or anything that can prevent churn. For the very reasons you put up on the board, 8% of the people are buying it every time.
Yeah. I want to throw another slide up real quick. I think tell me when we're getting too close to time here. Okay, perfect. I want to throw this up. So one of the things we look at Bold is why people start a subscription, why they continue a subscription, and why they cancel a subscription. And luckily we get a lot of data on this because when someone cancels a subscription, there's a form they fill out, they select a field, they say why they're canceling it, so we get some neat data. The number one reason across all types of subscriptions, whether it's access, replenishment, or curation, is recommendation by a friend. The number one reason people continue is a personalized experience. And when they get surveyed, the number one reason people cancel is they're dissatisfied with a product. So I wanted to touch on the first one, being that the number one reason people start a subscription is because a friend recommended it. Are there any unique tricks you guys do to encourage your existing subscribers to recommend a friend?
Well, one of the great things, or bad things, depending on how you look at it, if you're a spouse maybe, that golf takes a long time to play. So when I send out a driver to a new member, he goes and plays golf on Sunday with 3 of his best friends. He has a captive audience for 4.5 years. If he hits a couple of new fairways that he hadn't hit before, they're asking, do you get a new driver? And he automatically says, have you not heard of this new service? This is the most amazing thing ever. Every Monday, our sales are going up because of people that are playing golf with our new equipment, telling the people they're playing with about playing. So, yeah, absolutely. The referral service for us is huge.
We have a military discount plan for active and veterans, and particularly with active military. One guy will get on it, and then half the platoon will, or half the security team, and that we get more friend referrals that way than any other way.
Yeah, as part of the copy that we send out, we send out our copy early, our emails, our autoresponder emails early to do surveys for the customers, because we really want to get the feedback from the customers. And we started implementing Net Promoter Score, which is basically what is the likelihood of you to recommend to your friends, right? And if you get below a 7 or 7 and below, that means that they're not likely to recommend to their friends. And so when we get the engagement like that, when they're likely to recommend to their friends, we reach back out to them and say, would you be willing to give your friends X, right? A percentage off, or the first product for free, or whatever it is.
Yeah, when they're below 7, they're actually a detractor, which is interesting because you think if someone picks a 7, they're actually hurting your business, which is, you wouldn't assume that.
Well, and it's also a good opportunity to fix that, right? Like you could, that's where the human engagement comes in, right? Because you can reach out and say, what happened? I've gone ahead and proactively refunded your last order. Was that the problem?
And neutrals, 7 and 8s that's the hardest nut to crack, because usually if you have a detractor, there's a defect and you can identify it. The people who are meh, that's at the heart of your business doing well, is if you can figure out how to turn them into lifetime customers, you're going to be really successful.
Well, and it's different for each platform too, right? If you think about, direct to consumer, you got to treat it one way. If you're on Amazon, you got to drastically treat it a whole different way, because that person who's a 7 is going to go give you a 1, right? And so you want to prevent that 1.
Is there anything you guys do on the last one? We talked a little bit about the middle one, personalized experience. I think you guys all touched on custom signed or initial balls and reaching out. On dissatisfied with a product, that's always a challenging one for merchants because maybe they just have one product. Is there anything you guys do to add perceived value to the products you sell to keep people from churning or canceling?
I think a lot of customers don't realize that you have more than one product a lot of times, right? So they get driven to a landing page, they buy that one product. We have 6 or 7 different kinds of superfoods, right? And so we immediately offer the customer, look, we know that everybody's a little bit different and their taste buds are a little bit different. We've got 5 different kinds of superfoods. Can I just send you one of these? And a lot of times they'll just be shocked and say, wow, yeah, go ahead and send me the mocha. That sounds good to me. And then they'll write back later and they'll go, I can't believe I loved the mocha. I hated the other one. Yeah. But we understand that. Not everybody likes the same things.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think one thing I've seen a number of companies do in a similar space is every month they include a paper with a case study on someone's life that, if it's in the health space, like lost 20 pounds or got healthier or no longer has to take some medication because they're on, these health. So it's like you're giving them the ammunition. The more you know about a product, the more you perceive value in it, right? So just giving them the knowledge of that. So,
well, and I think different ways to use the product. Like we started putting together recipe books for superfoods, right? Like I would put it in a shaker and drink it, but I didn't know that there was moms putting it in pancakes and muffins and stuff that they were giving us, information they were getting. To his point earlier, if I wasn't answering some of the emails, I never would have known it. So we put together a cookbook, right? Like, it didn't cost us a lot of money to do it. We give it to them free. It's extra value, and they appreciate it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think in any subscription business, if anyone runs or is thinking about starting, there's really unique ways that you can take the single thing that they're getting every month. If I perceive this to be worth $9, you can make me perceive this to be worth $100 if it's like it comes with a recipe, it comes with information, it comes with access to something. Like just increase the value of this thing that I'm getting. She just told me we have a couple more minutes, so I want to ask one last question. We're at Bold, we're firm believers that for any successful subscription business, it takes time, it takes consistency. There's no growth hacks. But I wanted to ask, for each of you guys, is there anything you've done, any one thing you'd say that has made the biggest impact in whether it's launching, starting, growing, and it can be anything, maybe some social media campaign, an email, or something you did on your website. Any one thing that's made the biggest impact in your subscription business?
I mean, we use real foods in our products, right? And so the real foods are constantly going up in price. And we're constantly fighting that. And we're trying to use economies of scale to do that. But the reality of the situation is at some point, you may have to raise your prices. That's not a good thing, right? People that would be a number one reason to churn off of a subscription service. So, we use lightly nudging copy to say, look, if you sign up for this, we'll lock you in for the price and free shipping and all these other benefits that you get for life. We're never going to change your price on you, and we never have, even though our prices continue to go up. So just copy letting people know, right?
I mean, for us, the product that caused us to really be interested in subscriptions was a natural organic deodorant. And our original formula came in a jar that you kind of had to reach your fingers in and smear in your armpits, and which I was cool with, but apparently there are a lot of people that are like, I don't want to do that. So we listened to a lot of feedback. We did surveys, we talked to people, and we realized that our product, just for aesthetic, not for efficacy reasons, did not appeal to a broad range of the population. So we made a decision to reformulate, turn it into a stick format, even though that added some additional cost. But it all goes back to listening to the customer, and I think that if you change something and the price goes up, as long as they believe that they're getting some additional value with that. In our product, because we're using organic ingredients, costs more than some of the competitors, but we also decided to add more to the typical container than every single one of our competitors did, because the canister could afford that space, and we thought, well, it's better to just provide that extra value, even if a lot of people aren't going to notice that. So I think that that's made a huge difference for us.
For us, it was a sales channel decision. We started with the Dollar Shave Club, Nature Box sort of mantra, where we were only going to sell through our .com. And about a year and a half into existence, we made the decision to sell on Amazon. And we immediately saw a huge impact on our .com sales. And that's because at this point in time, and I don't know what the actual figures are, but Amazon gets significantly more search traffic when people are trying to buy products than Google does. So if you have a good brand and someone's interested in your product, if they find you on Amazon, they're most likely going to search out your .com. And just by choosing to sell through that other sales channel, it made a huge impact on our .com.
Yeah, I would say for me it was not spending a ton of money on building a custom website. Our platform's on Shopify. We focused a lot of the money on driving people to our website and getting more eyes. And I think that was probably the best thing that we've done. We've only been in business since June. We have over 2,000 subscribers already. So
that's really good. Okay, I'm getting the wrap up sign. So I just want to thank everyone. Thank you guys so much for coming out. I emailed these guys last week, I think on Tuesday. We were coming out. We were going to do a half-hour talk, and I thought, no one wants to listen to me for half an hour. Let's get some actual merchants up here. And these guys on the spot said, yeah, no problem. So big shout out to you guys. Thank you so much for that. Yeah, definitely worth a hand. If anyone's interested in learning about subscriptions for their business, there's Amy put some brochures out where our company is Bold, and we'd be happy to help you. And thank you guys for the attention.